Joining us right now to talk about the 2024 race, the state of the economy, and much more, we want to welcome Christie, the former New Jersey governor and U.S. attorney. He's now a 2024 presidential candidate. And, Governor, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, let's talk about some of the latest headlines that we've seen that have come through. Today, I saw Charles Koch, the PAC that he's built up, has about $70 million. Their top priority this time around is defeating Donald Trump, making sure that he's not the Republican candidate. That plays into what you've been talking about.
Sure.
Have you had any conversations with him?
We have. And look, I think right now what I'm finding is that most of the major donors are giving a little bit to people, but as you can see from the reports that were filed yesterday, but not going all in on anybody yet. And I think they're still trying to figure this race out. I think what happened early on was that Governor DeSantis was viewed as probably the primary contender against Donald Trump. I think his campaign has, to be nice, underperformed. And so I think everybody's kind of holding back a little bit and seeing how the rest of us perform and see if somebody emerges from our group. And look, that's why I've taken the approach I've taken, Becky, which is the truth matters. I'm saying the things about Donald Trump that need to be said, that I think most of those people, if not almost all of them, agree with and believe. And we can't do this in a delicate way. There's nothing delicate about Donald Trump. And he's not going to go away by, clicking our heels and hoping we're going Oz. We got to go directly at him and tell the truth. And, the fact is, when you look at just his campaign filings yesterday, almost most of the money that middle-class Americans have given to him, he spent on his own legal fees. I mean, this guy's a billionaire. And how about we go down the street, maybe just sells Trump Tower and pays for his legal fees that way, or maybe sell the plane and he could do that, or one of the golf courses. But instead, he's taking $25, $50, $100 from everyday Americans who believe they're giving it to him to help elect him president, and he's paying his legal fees. And one of the most astonishing ones yesterday was $108,000 for Melania's stylist. And they called that political strategy consulting. All
right. If you look at Nikki Haley, though, she says she's not obsessively anti-Trump like you are.
Well, we can't figure out what Nikki really is so far in the campaign. She's the person who said she'd never run if Trump ran, then said she would, then said she wouldn't, and now says she would. So, let's put it this way. I'm not auditioning for any position in a future Trump administration. I got offered White House Chief of Staff and turned it down. I got offered Secretary of Homeland Security and turned it down. Secretary of Labor and turned it down. Ambassador to Italy and turned it down. So I want to be president of the United States. And so I don't have to worry about it. And I'm not obsessive about anything other than trying to get our country back in a direction where we work together towards common goals of a great economy, a great educational system, and leadership around the world. I'm not worried about anything other than that. But for Nikki, if you're not going to beat Donald Trump, you're not going to win. That's it. It's that simple.
But if you look at the party, it's interesting. The Republican Party now, the Democrats, when they don't have the White House, the number of candidates are huge. We saw this back in 2016. Lots of candidates running. And some of the Republican parties in the states are kind of pushing back against this. California Republican Party just changed it, so it's basically winner take all instead of doing it by congressional district. Michigan did the same thing. There are other states that are considering this because they don't want to have to deal with such a wide number of candidates and try and figure it out and split things. But that makes it a lot tougher for anybody to challenge coming in later in the game.
Well, I'd argue to you that it has nothing to do with the number of candidates. It has to do with the fact that Donald Trump did a very good job when he was president in changing those state parties and putting the people that favor him in control of them, and they've now changed the rules to try to favor him. But look, a house that's rotting from within, no matter how you change the rules, will ultimately collapse. And let's face the fact here. Donald Trump, by the time we get to the debate in 3 weeks, will probably be out on bail in 4 different jurisdictions. Out on bail, Becky, in Florida, probably in Washington, D.C., probably in Georgia, and already here in New York. I don't understand how we can't be talking about that and how we can't say to Republican voters, if you don't want a Democratic president again in 2025, why do you think independent voters in a general election will vote for someone who is out on bail and probably during the general election facing at least one, probably two trials, which could subject him to prison time? I mean, so, you know, Nikki Haley can call that whatever she likes. I'm a former prosecutor. I know what he's facing. He goes to trial on that documents case in May, and he's convicted. There is a presumption of jail time. Presumption. So, you know, if that's you know, telling too much of truth to make someone like her uncomfortable, then she probably doesn't belong in this business.
But given the reality that presumably Republican voters are aware of all that, or aware of the legal peril, or aware of almost everything that's been going on for 2 years, and yet you still have to go through a just completely daunting polling lead that the former president has right now. So how do you square that?
Well, look, because as we were talking about right before we got on air, I don't think that the American people are really focused on this quite yet. You know, we all are focused on it, but I don't think they are yet. And so I think the first debate, whether he's there or he isn't, will start to kick this off. That happens on August 23rd. And then people get back to school, kids are back to school, people are back to work, and they start to say, okay, what's going on here? And, you know, I'm someone who understands, having been involved in this game as long as I have, that if you have a message that you think is honest, forthright, and direct, you just got to keep at it. And let's remember, from yesterday, July 31st, no one's voting for 6 more months. So how about we give people that 6 months of time? We also have this instant gratification society where we're like, okay, let's just decide now. Well, you know, all these polls say if the election were held today, and the one thing I know for sure is the election isn't held today, not anywhere. So let's keep at it. And it's not like his situation is going to get better. It's just going to continue to get worse. And if he has spent $40 million in the first 6 months of this year on his legal fees, and he's been indicted on 2 cases, what are his legal fees going to be? And by the way, those 2 poor guys who are his co-defendants.
I was going to say, it's not just his legal fees, it's for all of them.
Right. Yeah. And all these other witnesses that he has to continue to pay for. How long will he continue to do that? And if he doesn't, Becky, will they not turn on him and testify against him?